Last year, when I was leading my sold out retreat in Sedona, I went to bed one night as my human named Jennifer. And I woke up in the middle of the night as Mother Malia, the Great Mother, and I have been in this energy ever since. And so I asked Mother Malia, why are you here now? Why have you not come before? And she said, there is a great urgency on the planet. And 6 days later, the bombing started in Israel. Now, of course, there are many concerning things on the planet, but why I am here is to clear up every single distortion that the programmers have put into the humans so that we can have full restoration of our sovereignty, full restoration of our planet, and full restoration of heaven on earth. That is the easiest way I will say that.
I tell people that what we have to do, and most of the sages are coming to help us
Yeah.
remember who we are. And so once we begin to embark on that journey of remembering who we are, we call that the self development and so forth. So yes, I'm excited to have you here. And there have been, if you will, a tremendous amount of disturbance in the force, especially when it began there in Israel. And it kind of tapped into several timelines, if you will, for events to begin to happen on this planet Earth. And so thank you so much for showing up and to help us understand some of these things. One of the customs that we have here at Present Enlightenment is to go back into that time with the memory, to visit the first space that we hang out. We come into this planet after we've been born in the hospital. They take us home. It is called a home. And at
Yes.
this place called home, we have two individuals that are, we are told, are mom and dad. And mom and dad, from whatever trauma they were impacted as young ones, they have their intentions and their perspective guided by that. They are now going to deposit data into you. What
Yeah.
was your family unit like?
Yes, I'm so glad that you asked. I remember seeing orbs when I was in my crib at 10 months old, and I
Wow.
was very telekinetic as a child. At age 3, I remember objects moving around my room, etc. I remember my body stretching and feeling like I was becoming 12 feet tall. And my point for sharing this is that my parents took me for my first past life regression when I was 3, 4 years old with them. And we went to
Wow.
see a trance channel for an entire day because they wanted to find out, why did we come together as a family? Why are each of us here? Why did they come together as a couple, etc.? And so they were very spiritually open. My mom's dad was a psychic medium with the police and solving crimes. And my dad's dad was very much, I will say, an animal whisperer. You know,
Yeah.
they still brought a lot of trauma. They were still very much in their human, if you know what I'm saying. My dad was a
Yeah.
rageaholic. My
Wow.
mom, I will say both of them were narcissistic, and I don't say that loosely. I am actually clinically trained to say that in my former life. And so I grew up. Here is what I talk about, and I love that we're on the same page because Mother Malia talks a lot about our annoyances are our anointings. And
Mm-hmm.
the same will be true for the trauma. We can alchemize the trauma into gold. For example, I am here in spite of my trauma and because of my trauma, and that is true for each of us. And
Yeah.
so the gift of having two narcissistic parents is that I run a very good service-based business because I really know how to make it about other people, to the exception of myself, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
And so was it always fun to be gaslit and to kind of already be in a world and say, oh goodness, what is this world? And then to feel like I am standing on a Bosu ball constantly in the home? No. And then I went to school. I was upsetting people without knowing why. Well, it was because I knew things that I thought everyone knew. I will just speak very matter of fact, not knowing that I was saying things that I shall not know or were making people feel uncomfortable. And so I took the conventional path and I went to a university. I trained as a forensic social worker and I went into forensic social work for many, many years, which is where I really got exposed to the trauma and really
Yeah.
see the impact of, abuse and harm by omission and mental health issues and various such things, cycles of violence. But I could not the interesting thing about being a public servant is that the agencies, whether it is a school, whether it is a probation, whether it is violence, mental health, etc. They are very upset all the time because their clients don't change, but they are the worst change agents ever. They stay stuck themselves with the agencies. And
Yeah.
so I thought, goodness, I am working about 18-hour days, and I could actually make more money at a coffee shop than I am for the, back to your comment about the time, for the amount of time I was spending and the amount of time I was losing. And I thought there's got to be a better way. I need to help the people, and I also can't live below the poverty line all the time for the rest of my life. That's not going to work for me. So I started my business 20 years ago, and of course, the business, as you know as well, will also bring up the trauma that you don't realize is there,
Oh,
or the
yeah.
impact of the trauma by way of calling in clients. You can really get those, many wonderful clients, of course. And then there's the handful of clients that really unknowingly, unintentionally poke at the buttons that force you to say, am I going to deal with this issue, or am I not going to deal with this issue? Yeah.
Yeah, that is powerful. I love this. What a training ground you had with
Yes.
the parents that
Yeah.
you had selected to come to this world through. Having both of them at that level of the yin and yang, open spiritually, but yet governed by their trauma in such a fashion
Yeah.
that it overshadowed their openness as spiritual beings, which is truly fascinating to me to
Yeah.
that level.